Thanks for tuning into Sim's Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And you know what? Happy New Year. This is my December reading wrap up. And guess what? I read 13 books last month. Like, wow. What a way to end the year. It's been a while since I've read 13 books. And it was just enjoyable. It was a very good way for me to end the year for just myself at the same time. So, 13 books. First up was the Crescent Moon Tearoom. I have to say I really enjoyed this book. It was really sweet. It was kind of wholesome. It was a nice, cozy fantasy. And it's all about the sisterly bond and the motherhood. You have the three sisters, and Beatrice and Violet. And they're so different. But they have such a strong devotion to each other, and they're all clairvoyant. And they all, sorry, I'm a little sick still. Yeah, what a way to start the year, right? A little cold. They all have different passions and different fires in them, and they really don't want to sacrifice their sisterly bond, pardon me, by exploring their passions. But I think what's really great about this novel is that they really just come together and they encourage each other to pursue their passions and to pursue their destinies and just make that promise to be there for one another and to be there always for each other. And I think that was really great, and it was really sweet, and it was really wholesome, and it was quite wonderful, honestly, to see the story just take off in a way that I wasn't really expecting, and to see this tea room blossom and grow, because that's what they do. You know, they're witches. They are real witches, and people come to their tea room for fortune tarot card readings and tea leaf readings, and it's really kind of fun to see that brought to life, and in a really contemporary setting, because it's not. I'm pretty sure it's downtown Chicago or downtown. I think it's in Chicago, which is great for me because my family's from Chicago. I was actually born in Chicago. Grew up in Massachusetts, but I was born in Chicago, so that's where my family lives. That's where, you know, whenever I visit them, that's where I go. And so, for me, it was a really cozy, effortless kind of novel. And I like a story that focuses, I'm an only child, so, you know. But I do like a nice, wholesome story that focuses on family bonds. I think that was really good storytelling. After that, I read Lore Olympus, Volume 7. Do you guys get tired of listening to me rave about Lore Olympus? Well, too bad. I absolutely love Lore Olympus so much. And every volume, rather, that comes out just continues to impress me. And I read the webtoon series. I read the last episode 3 times. I read that webtoon series. I loved it so much. But when you're reading it in a graphic novel format, it has a completely different feel to it, because they have to strategically put the panels on the page, and now you're blowing up panels to take a whole page, and it's more impactful and it's more meaningful to see how this arc of episodes is being brought to life. You know, it's very thoughtful, and you can see the thoughtfulness from the publisher and from Smythe in how they're going to address Persephone's trauma, how they're going on this journey to heal her from her trauma, while also dealing with her romance with Hades and her somewhat toxic relationship with her mother, her overbearing helicopter parent mother. I mean, whew. And you're also dealing with other characters and how they are also dealing with their own issues, their own love-struckness, their own insecurities. I mean, Artemis and Hecate, those are my girls. And then you have Hera, and yes, my queen. These are some of my favorite goddesses brought to life. And to see them portrayed here is just wonderful, and to see the panels unfold in the way that they do is just wonderful. I absolutely love Lore Olympus so much, and If you don't want to hear me rant about Lore Olympus, then you know what? Just ignore me. After that, I read The Shifting Sands and Dread Mountain. I'm just going to combine them both into one little clip here because these are the two novels that I read to my son over the course of the month. I read about a chapter a night to him, and I really love it because he's excited. When I say, all right, Squirt, it's time for bed, he's like, are we still on the book with the bug? He's like, what's this? He's like, this is so cool. He's like, Mom, we have to look at the map. We have to see where they are in the map every night. And he loves it so much. So it's like very gratifying to me to be able to share something I grew up loving. You know, Del Toro's Quest. Such a great series. And to read it to him every night and to see him excited about reading about what's going to happen next. In fact, the other night, he's like, you're not reading it right, Mom. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not reading it right? I'm reading it the same way I always read. He's like, you're not. He's so stinking cute, and he's invested in the story, and I think that that's really great. I think Del Toro's Quest has aged really well. I really want Scholastic. I tried ordering a couple to the store. It's impossible now. These books are officially out of print, but I wish Scholastic would go back and reprint them. Because they really are so good. And someone needs to adapt this because the pacing, the story, Leaf, Jasmine, and Barter are such a strong trio. And each book is a quest. You know, they have to get the gems. And it's almost like every chapter leaves off on a cliffhanger to the point where I've already read the series, mind you, and I'm reading it, and I see my kid's asleep, and I'm like, reading ahead. I'm like, why am I reading ahead? I already know how the story ends because it reads so well and it aged so well, and that energy is still there, that tension, those really good character dynamics. I mean, if you're looking for a book to read to your kids or to get your kid interested in reading, highly recommend Del Toro's Quest. See if you can find a used copy somewhere. See if you can get it at your local library. I highly recommend getting this book in your hands because it really is such a great fantasy for young readers. After that, I read Legend of the White Snake. I wanted more. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I really did like it. And once again, a huge thank you to the publisher for sending me a copy of this book. But I wanted more from it. I can't explain. I think I wanted a little bit more development in the romance between the characters because the characterization was really good. But I feel like the story moved too quickly. You know, that rising tension just exploded too quickly for the ultimate reveal, and I didn't really get to see the characters really fall in love. Like, yeah, they fell in love, but I wanted to see them really fall in love. And that's funny coming from me because I am not a romance girly. But I really was invested in the characters and their dynamics. And I love the side characters as well. And I wanted to see more from the side characters because they were funny and sweet and heartwarming. I'm like, aw. So I wanted more from it. I felt like it was cut too short, which is why I only gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars. Really, it's like 3.75 stars is what I gave it on the story graph. Because I wanted more from it, you know. I think it was just cut too short for me, and I think that there could have been a little bit more done to prolong the story without making it drag. Although that plot twist at the end, did not see that coming, not at all. After that, I read Ruthless Vows. First of all, I love Rebecca Ross, and I'm so glad we got to see Roman and Iris fall in love again through their love of writing and through their letters to one another. It's just so sweet and it's so wholesome and it's beautiful to see that again. But what I think is also really great is I'm not someone who cries when they read books. I'm not a crier when I read books, even when it's like sad scenes. That's just not me, but damn. There's a scene near the end of the book and I was like, oh, no, and I'm like, no. I almost, I'm like listening. I was listening to it on the audiobook on the bus. And I'm like, no. I just about almost broke into tears on the bus. I was like, no one else on this bus understands my pain right now. it was so, oh God. I mean, it's a war atmosphere. The way that the story reads, it's kind of reminiscent of kind of World War I, really World War II historical fiction. And I don't, once I read a book and it says World War II, and I'm like, no thank you. That's an automatic put down for me. Like, those kinds of stories don't always invigorate me or pull me in. But that's the kind of feel that this story had to it. And it was really well done. It was really well executed. And it was very emotive. It was very, very emotive. And I was drawn in by the characters and the mythology. Oh, the mythology that Ross built in this story was so well done between the gods. And you have your own kind of version of Hades and Persephone here. And it really was such a well-done novel. It was breathtaking. It really did take my breath away. And it almost made me cry. God, I really had to rein myself in from crying because I almost cried. And I don't cry when I read books. I really don't. So for it to almost make me cry and to really just like, gut punch me, I mean, that says a lot. And the fact that it felt like a genre or an aesthetic that really is kind of like an instant turnoff for me, and yet that still pulled me in and drew me in. It just shows you how strong Rebecca Ross's storytelling and writing style is. After that, I read The Mirror of Beasts, and I'm so happy I was able to finally tick this one off my TBR because I really enjoyed Silver and the Bone. I really enjoy Arthurian legend. You give me a book and it says, just like World War II inspired is like an instant put down for me. If it says Arthurian legend, that's like, ooh, gimme. That is an instant read for me, pick up. But this book goes a step forward. Now we're dealing with the Wild Hunt. We're really getting into that Fae aspect of the story. And we all know King Arthur had his own relationship with the Fae. I always like that Sam Neill miniseries with the Merlin miniseries. Love it with Mab. And with Martin Short. Yeah. And Helena Bonham Carter. I mean, oof, that's such a great miniseries. So for Bracken to really delve into that Fae aspect of the story, now we're going with a Wild Hunt and bring it to life and really tie it to this tale of King Arthur and the legend of King Arthur. And we're even stepping away from King Arthur a little bit. I really thought that was really quite clever with the storytelling, and it kept me on my toes. Let me tell you, my theories were incorrect. Bracken threw me through a loop here with this storytelling. I was thinking one thing and I was like, oh my God, I was horribly wrong. And then I was thinking another thing, I'm like, oh my God, I'm still horribly wrong. And then with the final reveal, I was like, I did not see that coming at all. Didn't see it coming. She uses misdirection in such a brilliant way that keeps you guessing and keeps you from really knowing how the plot's going to evolve. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Loved it, loved it, loved it. So I'm really happy I read it. Ending was a lot of fun. So after that, I read Namesake, sequel to Fable. Really glad I also was able to tick this one off my TBR. My goal is to get through all this series I've already started and just finish them. And then I can start reading some of the more series that I've already started collecting. We'll see if this is the year for that. In my defense, I did start late in the year for that last year. So we'll see. We will see. And to stay on top of series that I've kind of already started, you know, like Fourth Wing and When the Moon Hatched, so Moonfall, you know, some of the series I've already started this past year. I want to just continue with it and not like fall drastically behind like I have with all these other series. So, you know, Namesake, it's just really good atmosphere wise. I really enjoyed reading the story. I really thought it was really engaging. I thought it was really, this is another one that kept me off my toes. I will say this about December. December books kept me on my toes, and that was a lot of fun. You know, I like it when I'm kept on my toes, and I think Namesake also did that as well. And I love this atmosphere. I love this new world that Adrian Young has created. And it's not really pirate. It's just like you're on the sea. It's the sea kind of like atmosphere to the storytelling. And I think that that's a lot, that brings a lot of uniqueness to the storytelling. Sorry, I had to adjust the brightness right there. And it's just, it's very unique and it's very fresh, and it very much does feel like you're on the seaside looking for gems, and you're looking for all this type of things, you know, you're selling, you're sea traders. And again, it just had a really strong, unique feel to it. So I really did enjoy the feel of it, and I like the characterizations. I will say sometimes they were annoying because I think they were also a little unfair to Fable, but for the most part, I was okay with it. It was realistic, I will say that. It did give a little bit more depth and realism to those character dynamics. After that, I read Saint, and I'm so glad I read this book right after I read Namesake, because you got to see a lot of those Easter eggs dropped throughout the story. And I liked seeing Saint and Isolde brought to life as more than just like these names and pictures in Fable's mind brought to life. You know, they seem kind of bigger than life, and now you're seeing the down and dirty and gritty of who they are. And I really, really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed the characterization. I really enjoyed the storytelling. I thought it was really captivating to see it brought to life. And I liked getting to know Isolde and Saint as characters. You know, there's so much more than what Fable thought, and there's so much more to Saint and his past and his origins than we get to see in Fable and Namesake. And once again, that atmosphere is so well done in this novel. The atmosphere, that characterization, it is absolutely well done. 100%. After that, I read The Witch of Wholesome Lake. First off, thank you to the publisher for giving me a copy of this book, just like they did with Break All the Pretty Kings. But much like with the first book, this one was really hard to follow. And it's not even the time jumping aspect of it. I didn't mind the time jumping aspect of it. I actually thought that was, you know, quite clever, and I really enjoyed that part of the story. It's everything else. The story itself seems really disjointed. And for me, what really, really hindered my enjoyment was I was not able to really connect to the characters. First of all the characters have like 2 or 3 different kind of nicknames, and for someone who does not speak the language, I had to heavily rely on context clues to be like, okay, who are we talking about right now? Especially because she has 2 brothers. You know, there's a lot going on. So I was very, very confused with who are we talking about right now? What's the situation going on right now? There were times where I thought, it's like, so her and Kuman are going to have a relationship? No, not her and Kuman. It's going to be her and that guy. And I was just like, wait a second. It was very hard to connect to the characters. It was very hard to connect to their story, to the character dynamics. And it was really hard to just connect to the overall plot. And I think it's a little disappointing. A lot of the scenes that were futuristic in the first book, you know, because she is able to switch bodies with her future self, you didn't even get to see them in this book, half of them. Some of them, yes, some of them, no. And I understand, you know, future's always changing, that kind of element to the story, but Suman, that's his name. There is a scene I really wanted to see come to life when she is sitting under the stars with Suman under the festival. And I'm like, oh, that's such a heartwarming scene. You don't get to see that. You don't get to see it. So it's kind of a disappointment. It's like you brought all these scenes that are pretty much on your cutting room floor. They're going to stay on your cutting room floor because you weren't able to develop them and fit them into your story. And I understand from a writer's aspect of your story changing from what you originally conceived it to be, but I wasn't able to connect to it, and it was hard to follow. And that ending, it was a little confusing. I understood where the author was going with it, but it was a little confusing because it didn't fit with what was established in the first book and what was reestablished in this book early on. I was very confused. I was just like, okay, so you're tying this point to this point to kind of make a full circle, but you already introduced ABC elements, and it was not easy to follow, and it really felt really disjointed. After that, the book club pick for Read Wisdom's Workshop. Thank you all for choosing Four Dead Queens. I really, really enjoyed this book. Carol Lee is a great character. I love her. And another book that kept me guessing. I thought I had everything figured out after, that first quarter. And then I thought, oh yeah, I'm definitely on the right track when I read that second quarter. And when I got to the halfway point, I was like, oh, no, I'm horribly, horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. But in such a great way. Like, my theories were not proven to be correct at all. And it was fun and it was entertaining. And I really, really enjoyed that aspect of the storytelling. And I love the world building, because you have a queendom and it's separated into 4 quadrants, but some of them are so vastly different. Some of them are kind of like medievalish, some of them are very futuristic. They each have a different feel to them, but they fit within this world that Schultz was able to build here, and it really was an effortless kind of storytelling. And then last but not least, I finished this book, New Year's Eve, The Secret Year by Jennifer Hubbard. So this is going to be a great book if you like Nolan or Harlow. It definitely has that same feel to it. This is not my usual pick, but the publisher sent this to me and I'm like, okay, yeah, let me read it. It was short and quick enough. I'm like, I can definitely read this before the end of the year. I'm going to do it. And I did it. She said she could, so she did. It was really, it deals a lot with grief, because you have Colt and he had a secret relationship with Julie, who died, Labor Day Monday in the car accident. And they had a secret relationship. She was, from the rich kid side, think kind of Pretty in Pink. And he was, lower class. And she had her rich boyfriend who fit in with her crowd and, expectations and everything. But she was, so unhappy with him. And you get to see how unhappy and how much she actually did love Colt through her diary entries. Her brother Michael gave Colt her diary, and she didn't even write like a regular diary. She wrote every entry, dear Colt, basically. So she's writing these secret letters to Colt, and she's really expressing who she is and what she wants, and she's talking about them and the things that she wants and her desires, and you're seeing a different side, and you're seeing what Colt never got to see, and you're seeing like, damn, I loved this girl. I never really got to tell her I loved her. So he has to deal with grief and moving on, and he has to deal with this unknowing answer, like, was I just a fling to her, or did she really love me? Was I nothing to her, or did she love me? So you're seeing a lot come through from that aspect of the storytelling. And I liked how it was emotional. Again, and it was quick. And again, this is not something I would normally read, but honestly, I really, really enjoyed it. So, more than I thought I would. So, these are the 13 books that I was able to read this year. Woo! Yay! Thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book-loving friends. Share in the description below what you guys were able to read. Did you meet your goals? Did you meet your yearly goal? Just let's chat. Let's talk. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book-loving friends. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Once again, Happy New Year, and as always, happy reading.